Buongiorno a tutti, eccoci al nostro terzo appuntamento BBDO Insights. Oggi parleremo di retail. Con noi come speaker d'eccellenza la nostra Head of Planning BBDO EMEA, Melanie Norris, che avete già conosciuto per chi di voi ha partecipato al primo appuntamento di BBDO Insight. Alla fine del webinar, che sarà sicuramente molto interessante e pieno di contenuti che vi apriranno la mente, avremo la possibilità di porle qualche domanda. Vi prego di scriverla in chat, ci raggiungerà poi il nostro amministratore delegato Marianna Ghirlanda per fare le eventuali domande. A presto.
Over to me. Okay, thank you so much for having me to present as part of your BBDO Insights series. I'm Melanie Norris, Head of Planning for BBDO Knows, and I'm here today to talk to you about the importance of maintaining the basket in retail, with a particular focus on grocery retail. So the business of retail had opposing narratives in 2020 during COVID. Online versus in-store, grocery versus non-grocery, lifeline versus non-essential. And this mixed picture is translating into a mixed recovery. Grocery retail was really resilient during COVID, but even the most resilient verticals and businesses now face a period of transition, and they remain at the mercy of contextual disruption and consumer preference. As our partners at the Foresight Factory suggest, the coronavirus outbreak highlighted how grocery brands effectively function as public services, keeping populations fed and healthy in times of crisis. During COVID, grocery retail was elevated to essential, and its employees were recognized as such, and this was a really positive thing. During COVID, retail stepped up in the most significant way, but it was often on the same roller coaster as its customers: peak demand, peak regulation, peak problems. This was the year that grocery got the attention that it deserved. Grocery retail captured its fair share of not just the conversation and the headlines, but the memes, and that's when you know you've really made it. This attention translated into increased spend. So COVID created a set of false favorable conditions for grocery retail: false desire, false demand, and all of that was coupled with a muted competitive set because non-essential retail was obviously closed, at least physically. Grocery retailers picked up additional share of spend. And because of that, basket sizes in grocery retail increased 16% globally. And what we'd been seeing previously was that spend with grocery retailers had been consistently declining for some time. This false spend arose because we didn't have other places to spend, and because additional spend occasions like, well, I'm working at home and so I'm having lunch at home arose. Now, as we progress through 2021 and as we return to the office, other things change, those so-called non-essential retailers stay open, these opportunities and occasions will diminish for grocery retailers. So just as COVID elevated grocery retail, it also accelerated disruption and challenges that had been building for many years before. So if we think back to pre-COVID at the start of 2020, grocers were braced for a difficult decade. Grocery shoppers were demanding more value, quality, convenience, personalization, with discounters ratcheting up the pricing pressure. Online grocery steady adoption was gradually diluting profits. Sales per square meter were often declining because of grocery market oversaturation. And restaurants and food services were also winning sales from grocers by offering consumers an easy alternative and a cheap alternative to cooking at home. Just over a year later, or 18 months later now, the future looks very, very different. Pre-existing challenges were accelerated and accentuated during COVID, but in many ways, the grocery sector was also accelerated towards solutions, towards a more sustainable future, and towards a much more favorable position with its customers. So COVID saw forced acceleration, and we've all seen a version of this chart, of course. Nearly 150 million people shopped online for the first time in the pandemic. The number of e-commerce buyers will only continue to rise, say eMarketer. And the shift away from physical retail was accelerated by 5 years. During COVID, we all experienced a need to manage risk, and retailers had to help us with that. And if we think about what this means next, so today and for months to come, it will remain an absolutely key concern and a priority for many of us to see evidence of hygiene and safety and security in the stores that we visit. And if we think back to legacy challenges, well, the most obvious one is the legacy challenge of price. So the need to be competitive, which remains absolutely key today. So when uncertainty prevails, consumers disproportionately focus on their spend. They plan, they delay, they justify everything they spend. So consumers will prioritize value. This is an inevitability. 63% of global consumers say price will drive their choices for the next 3 years. And fulfillment remains a challenge. So retailers got really creative with fulfillment during COVID, and customers explored new ways of receiving goods, and they liked it. They will expect more. Customer expectations around fulfillment and around convenience will remain. Consumers expect all brands and businesses to be responsible. Certainly this was the case before COVID, but it was accentuated again during COVID, because they have this awareness now of their responsibility across several key areas, and it will remain heightened. So COVID was a reminder of the very worst, but it brought out the very best in us, and we want to see our values reflected back at us moving forward. Competition has been a key challenge for years. Grocery retailers today face increasing competition from digital ecosystems like Amazon, who have very much been making a play for the grocery space. And then the direct-to-consumer brands, which are certainly taking their fair share of the market. So as we look forward, customers are increasingly disloyal. Their baskets will fragment again, especially as the world opens up. Grocery retailers aren't just in competition with each other. So what next? Well, as we emerge from the pandemic, these challenges will all prevail and will present key tensions for retailers going forward. Tensions that will require reconciling in order for any future model to succeed. But one of the greatest sources of tension is, and always has been, the grocery customer. And the grocery customer has been through a lot these past 18 months. So over the past 18 months, consumers have shown their adaptability and their resilience, but the disruption they faced disrupted their spend and their behavior. So pre-COVID, customers had the highest expectations, and those expectations were often shaped by their last best experience. The majority of customers had zero tolerance, especially around things like queue times. Expectations were exceptionally high. Globally, negative shopping experiences were costing retailers an estimated $71 billion in abandoned sales last year. Now, accommodating pain points is just the new normal for customers, as long as it means safety is prioritized, particularly in store, with consumers preferring perhaps a quieter, longer, more regulated shopping experience. So a great in-store browsing experience mid-2020 was defined as not too crowded, and COVID-19 regulations followed. These concerns around hygiene and safety and crowding will prevail. Before the pandemic, consumers were driven by 3 long and well-established priorities. They were price, quality, and convenience. A grocery retailer's ability to deliver against these factors was key and often dictated store choice. Today, whilst price is absolutely still a leading factor in consumers switching brands, other criteria have risen up the ranks. There are certain things we won't negotiate on: products, ideals, certainly our values. These are all incredibly important, and they impact our complex decision-making process. Pre-COVID, people were half asleep shopping. So this was a bit of a mixed behavior, but people had their repertoires of both products and stores, but we were certainly sometimes sleep shopping with a great deal of apathy. Since the pandemic, consumers are less loyal to brands and to retailers, but they will still have their repertoires. So no matter what kind of strategic positioning you have, consumers have a mind of their own. They are choosing to do different things in different categories. Even your core customer is buying some categories at other shops. And there is a growing sense that this mindful shopping will continue. Pre-COVID, we shopped for more. So consumers wanted companies to treat them like individuals and reward them accordingly. Personalization has always been an opportunity, but it's an expensive business. We've always liked to feel understood and loved by the people we do business with. Now, personalization, rewards, relevance will remain critical drivers of store choice and product choice. The financial implications of getting this right are too significant to ignore. And as new generations of grocery consumer grow up, they will expect more. They experience personalization and rewards in other areas of purchasing, and it will increasingly become hygiene in grocery retail as well. Before COVID, consumers expected brands and businesses to behave responsibly and to support their beliefs and to help them be better. We have big values and beliefs, but maybe we often outsourced them, especially to our grocery retailer partners. The COVID crisis accelerated the trend towards more sustainability and local products with no apparent slowdown so far. We are much more aware of our context and our communities, and we are willing to take more responsibility, and it will impact our purchasing behavior. Being a consumer is hard, choices are infinite, messages are overwhelming, and the sell is relentless. Grocery consumers want to feel the win too. If we agree that the grocery buyer has many complex needs at play in any one shopping trip, and some variables change trip to trip, how can grocery retailers ensure they are positioned to help customers navigate their complex decisions and find the right product at the right place at the right time, at the right price? And as the world is slowly reopening and as many non-retail businesses and out-of-home offers resume trade, consumers will have infinitely more choice. How can grocery retailers ensure their models, products, and brands are best positioned to keep winning baskets while helping customers find their own wins? Well, it's all about winning the basket. As we emerge from the pandemic, there are key battlegrounds that represent opportunities for grocery retailers and more broadly, retailers in general. Maintaining the basket relies on competing across the battlegrounds you see here. So we think consumers choose to shop with a retailer, so give my basket to you, because of their value proposition, because of their values position, and because they are convenient, first and foremost. Then we believe consumers put more in their baskets with a retailer because that retailer offers the right product, they meet consumer needs, and because it feels personal. And then consumers keep their basket with retailers because you keep them interested, you reward them, and because you have the right product at the right time, at the right place, and at the right price. So now we're going to quickly run through what these battlegrounds look like and who's doing it well. So why my basket is with you. This is all about winning with value, winning with values, winning offline, and of course, winning online. So value remains a critical component of the grocery retail offer. It's always been a hygiene factor. This has been driven by the grocery retail discounters who have consistently driven prices down in their markets. So crafting a price and a value offer that's differentiated is a legacy challenge for all grocery retailers. Finding value is as complicated as this chart suggests. These are all the things that go into helping a consumer make a decision around whether something is value for money. They are asking themselves these questions every time they are thinking about a purchase. I think the opportunity lies in brands thinking about how they can help customers find shortcuts to the perception of value, helping them find value for me in the moment. One example here is Coles in Australia, who early on in the pandemic revisited a very famous and nostalgic campaign of theirs and reduced prices across the board, knowing that, as they said, Australian families needed better value from their weekly budget because of their current circumstances. So making your low prices front and center in communications can be a very simple, effective winning strategy. And in the Leave Behind deck, you will see that we've explored other value strategies. But the key takeaways here are many consumers are now more price conscious than ever, but they don't want to sacrifice quality. So successful grocery retailer strategies have seen offers and messages combine price with other value drivers such as quality, fresh produce, and family values. Successful strategies also see retailers helping customers with mental shortcuts to finding better prices or better value for me. The values were heightened during COVID. When faced with the worst, people cared more. They became more aware of their local communities and the people around them. Respecting and supporting people's values remains key to any grocery retailer offer. But the list of values is growing. Behaving responsibly at every step, from supply chain right through to the in-store or online experience, is a priority. Great example here is from Sellex, who took a stand against something they knew their customers felt really strongly about, the fact that VAT was charged on the sale of sanitary protection goods. So they launched a special edition of Sellex branded tampons featuring the packaging and the VAT of a basic necessity like spaghetti, tomatoes, flour, bread, and milk, thus giving customers the opportunity to buy tampons as if they were considered essential goods and at an appropriate price. Key takeaways here: the pandemic has highlighted and exacerbated pre-existing inequalities, as well as given people more time on pause to reflect about their values and their beliefs. Successful grocery retailer strategies have showcased initiatives across the vast spectrum of values. Successful messaging around values has adopted an authentic and empathetic tone, and that's no easy feat. Successful strategies also see retailers helping customers with shortcuts to supporting what truly matters to them. The grocery store was one of the few places we were permitted to visit during COVID. So winning offline is going to be a key challenge going forward, but key opportunity as well. So the weekly shop became a staple in our lives and a chance to shop for novelty in the face of extraordinary restriction. Curating the in-store experience so that it competes with non-grocery is going to be critical moving forward. Here, I think Walmart did something quite entertaining and engaging. So last summer, they converted their car parks into drive-throughs. So Jamie Whiteside, the chief customer officer there, said, "Through our digital means and our vast footprint of stores, we're hoping to bring some summer fun to families across the country. We know Walmart plays a role in our communities that extends far beyond getting supplies." I think this was a really nice example of the physical store meeting needs outside of shopping and doing so in a very emotionally engaging way. Key takeaways here: as shopping online for groceries becomes increasingly streamlined and convenient, grocers need to think of ways to drive consumers in store. Successful grocery retailer strategies have highlighted the store has an experience and it's one worth spending time with. Successful messaging around the store balances store utility with emotion, and successful strategies also see retailers explicitly highlighting the added value of in-store versus online. Speaking of online, we need to win here too. So by contrast, this is where people did spend a great deal of time during COVID. They became very comfortable with this way of purchasing. And while this arguably aids cost efficiencies for grocery retailers, it strains the return on investment offline. So ensuring online and offline complement is key to capturing a broader customer base and maintaining that customer base. and maintaining profits. An example here is Waitrose in the UK, so known for their quality in-store experience and tremendous curation of products. They replicated this offer online. The online experience is simple, but it's also engaging. The online offer also has other sub-brands such as Waitrose Cellar, which advises and supplies wine, and Waitrose Entertaining, which is all about curated home entertainment needs. All food comes with a freshness guarantee and delivery is trackable and next day. Key takeaways here: as shoppers become more confident with going online to purchase groceries, stores need to move beyond hygiene factors, which were fast delivery, efficient process, and an intuitive user experience in order to stand out. Successful grocery retailer strategies have dialed up the convenience of online. They've dialed up the discovery and the curation of online, which was sometimes lacking before. And successful messaging around online has illustrated how complementary offline and online are and should be. So what do you need to do to convince a customer to put more in their basket with you? Here, you can win with product, you can win with food, you can win with home and health. These were all tremendous battlegrounds during COVID, and they remain key battlegrounds as we emerge. So winning product can be a significant differentiator. During COVID, customers tried new things in order to seek new experiences whilst they were confined to their homes. Assortment, exclusivity, private label, product can all be a real point of differentiation in a sea of sameness. We've got a couple of examples here from Target and from Marks and Spencer's in the UK. So Target has a whopping 48 private labels to choose from. I think they do such a great job of differentiating themselves with their own brands. So every one of their private labels has a personality of its own. And I particularly love Pillow Fort, which is the kids' home furnishings range that they have. And then there's Marks and Spencer's in the UK. So they are known for their own label ranges, their private label ranges. In fact, they never used to stock anything other than their own private labels. But they are famous for their Percy Pigs, where they sell 400 million bags of Percy Pig sweets a year, and their Colin the Caterpillar cakes and goods, which is so famous it's currently at the centre of a lawsuit with another grocery retailer who is being accused of imitation. I think there is a tremendous sense of affection for M&S own label brands, again because of the personality they have. The key takeaways here: as customer expectations continue to rise higher than ever, product can be a key differentiator and a way to delight. Successful grocery retailer strategies have used product to engage and differentiate. Successful messaging around product makes certain lines heroes and gives them a personality and a life of their own. Winning with food. So during COVID, grocery food commanded our spend and our attention. We got inventive and we got creative with ways to make grocery food an experience. Investing in and communicating food offers is key for the rest of 2021 and beyond. So an example here is Tesco's Food Love Stories, a campaign that was certainly running pre-COVID, but with each iteration, it grows and builds and gains affection with the audience. So this campaign brings together a human story and a meal each time. It puts the food at the core, showing how the groceries shoppers buy are part of a much bigger narrative of why and how people cook and eat, and most importantly, the people they choose to cook and eat with. Key takeaways here: grocery retailers often talk about products, but they talk about food much less often. But when food is done well, it can be an extraordinary differentiator. Successful grocery retailer strategies have shown how produce and product is just the start. It's what you do with it that matters. And successful messaging around product makes the food moment the hero, the meal, the memories. So winning home. Well, our homes were our sanctuary during COVID, and consumers spent on everything from the cosmetic changes to full-on renovation work, home spend is predicted to remain resilient for some time to come. So home products should remain a priority and part of the overall offer and be communicated accordingly. Here, one great example is Aldi, who have become renowned for certain home items that, because they're so well priced and creatively designed, have flown off the shelves. So, for example, their garden furniture, which has become iconic among shoppers. The recent release of their hanging egg chair was so successful and promoted sellouts, and in doing so generated huge PR for the supermarket. Key takeaways here: shoppers have spent more time than ever at home this year and last year due to restrictions and regulations. As a result, they have spent more time thinking about their home space, and in some cases have had more disposable income to spend, making their home improvements big and small. Successful grocery retailer strategies should dial up their home offer. And if the home offer doesn't exist yet, it should. Retailers need to think about how they can tap into the highly lucrative home space. Winning health. So our health and the health of those we care about was prioritized during COVID. We spent on a broad range of health-related products from preventative to cure. Much of the spend was with our grocery retailer partners. Health products should remain a priority, be dialed up as part of the overall offer, and be communicated accordingly. So there are countless health communications examples, and we've got plenty in the leave behind from grocery retailers. We've picked one here from Ahold Delhaize in Europe, who launched a healthy food loyalty program called Super Plus Rewards, which rewarded shoppers for making healthier choices and made it super convenient by offering automatic savings that were applied to over 5,000 products, which had a good Nutri-Score, which they assigned. So customers were rewarded for making good, healthy choices, but they were also given a shortcut to making those good, healthy choices with this Nutri-Score. Key takeaways: health has been a growing concern for most people for a while, of course, and this concern has only increased over the last year during the coronavirus. Successful grocery retailer strategies around health make it accessible, but they also make it engaging. Successful strategies make health less intimidating and help consumers understand how their choices add up to living better. And so finally, why should a consumer keep their basket with you? Well, this is all about winning occasion, it's winning with rewards, and winning with personalization. So grocery retailers helped us celebrate lockdown birthdays, anniversaries, Fridays, anything we could celebrate, the big night in, the fake away, whatever we could celebrate, we did. Continuing to have a presence within occasion will be key in the coming months as many embark upon a hybrid in-home, out-of-home lifestyle. So our examples here are both from Target, who have done a great job again of designing products specifically for the occasion. So they recently launched a food and beverage brand focused on snacking and indulging, as the retailer aims to give its customers reasons to keep coming back even after the pandemic. So their private label is called The Favorite Day, which I love, and includes more than 700 products like premium ice cream, bakery items, beverage mixers, mocktails, cake decorating, birthday supplies, etc. And like most retailers, they curate around occasions, offering gift lists and ideas and services, etc. But this curation at Target is front and center on the website. And as well as that front and center online curation, the retailer offers inspiration for birthdays, Halloweens, fun lunch boxes on their YouTube channel. So it's very much a core part of their strategy. Key takeaways: over the last year, shoppers have come to appreciate and celebrate the small things. We've had to, and grocers have been there to help them. Successful grocery retailer strategies acknowledge the occasions that matter in our lives, and that's the big ones and the small ones, and they invite consumers to celebrate with them. Successful strategies own the occasion, offering ideas, inspiration, content, and products to match. So our final point is about winning customers. Continuing to win over the fickle customer is key in any successful future scenario. So the consumer has to be central to any offer. The experience needs to be superior, the product relevant, and the price right. No easy challenge. Our example here is Tesco, who took a pain point and turned it into a brilliant and very positive touch point. So shoppers who order their groceries online sometimes experience substitutions. Product is out of stock, we have substituted it for another alternative. And there are hilarious stories of substitutions where it's all gone horribly wrong. But in this instance, shoppers saw everyday items on their weekly shop substituted for high value prizes. So your Tesco apples are out of stock, we've replaced them with an Apple iPhone. And your laundry tablets are out of stock, we've replaced them with a Samsung Galaxy tablet. What a wonderful surprise and delight touch point. Key takeaways here, shoppers' needs have grown, even more complex and contradictory since the pandemic. Grocers who have won over customers have done so by thinking outside of the box, with nothing out of the realms of possibility to put consumers' needs first. Successful grocery retailer strategies lock us in with value-add offers and services, but they ensure that those offers feel personal and rewarding and highly relevant to me. So in summary, grocery retail remained open and stepped up during COVID, and in doing so commanded significant share of voice and spend and affection and attention. What does 2021 and beyond look like for a sector that performs such a vital service for consumers? What happens when the rest of the world opens? The current elevation of grocery retail is a unique opportunity for the sector. The rest of this year is crucial in cementing this renewed position for the sector. As we emerge from the pandemic, there are key battlegrounds that represent opportunities for grocery retailers. As grocery retailers' ability to craft a compelling offer across the key battlegrounds will help maintain their baskets now and next. If we look at it really simply, we shop to cook, to entertain, to care, to love, to live. Grocery retail has always been an essential service. It's just we didn't see it. Now the dynamic has shifted and we need to make sure it stays that way. Thank you very much.
Hi Melanie.
Hello.
Ciao a tutti. Thank you Melanie for being with us. It was as usual very interesting and very inspiring, and it's also very, for us is quite important to see also the perspective from a European point of view that is slightly wider than ours, that we're here in our small Italy. I have a couple of questions for you. Because you covered a few challenges in your presentation, and they are all interesting, but my question is, which one do you think it will be most relevant and most difficult to navigate in a short and medium time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think for me, it's the customer. And, the fact that their circumstances are changing at a moment's notice. So your offer and your communications might have to change at a moment's notice too. And of course, that's true for every business, every sector, everyone right now. But I think the customer, in terms of grocery retail, expects so much. And the other thing that we've had emerging from the pandemic is two clear segments, the haves and the have-nots. And how do you as a grocery retailer make sure you're being sensitive and inclusive to the needs of two very different and emerging segments? And I think, what's going to be really difficult is we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We keep being promised.
Yeah, it's quite difficult at the moment.
I think, even just in terms of communications planning, we've seen this for everyone. You will plan a piece of communication, a piece of advertising, and something will happen and the message is suddenly very wrong. And how do you build that kind of flexibility and almost, scenario planning and resilience, not just into your products and your offer, but into your communications planning? And I think that is going to be the challenge for 3, 6 months, goodness knows how long, depending on what happens with COVID and how it plays out. But within that, you've got a very demanding, very challenging consumer who is themselves experiencing highly volatile circumstances and highly individual circumstances, because you have the haves and the have-nots. So how do you make sure that your offer is inclusive of all and highly resilient and flexible enough to shift at a moment's notice? I think that's going to be the main challenge.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also very difficult actually to not to forecast, but even to understand what's going to happen even in a short time. It was really, yes, we are still shocked by what happened that we would have never forecasted. I have another question that is more tactical. Which retailer do you think have done the best job or a good job of winning the basket, and why?
Yeah, I think there's a few. I think locally in the UK, I think Tesco have done a phenomenal job actually. So for those of you that don't know, Tesco have a positioning around every little helps. So every little thing we can do as a retailer could help you as a customer. And they've had that for a long, long time. But I think during the pandemic, during COVID, that really came to life. So and in the Leave Behind, we've actually got an extended case study on Tesco, because every single touch point really brought this positioning to life. Everything from everyday low prices, so our low prices that helps you on a daily basis, to supporting local communities, which they did. So they recently launched an ad which told people effectively not to buy, your beer in the store, but go and support local bars and pubs because they have suffered tremendously during the pandemic. And then they did things like supporting vulnerable customers during the pandemic, which I know most stores did by opening early and then ensuring that those vulnerable customers had a safe space and had access to products that they need. But there are countless examples like that. And we just showed the one with the substitution of the products. I mean, I just thought that was genius. No one's done that. That was a pain point that they really turned on their heads. And of course, the amount of PR that generated was tremendous for the brand and for the store. And of course, you'll see in the Leave Behind, the results for the store have been very, very healthy as well. And then alongside that, they have longer term commitments around health and sustainability, and you can see how they're building towards those. So I think they've got this core positioning, but then all of the touch points around it are kind of building and supporting that. So you absolutely know what you're getting when you're shopping with Tesco. And then I think Target does a phenomenal job in the States, but for an entirely different reason. That they have so much personality in their offer, so much personality in their products. I mean, if you do get a chance, you can go on their website and look at all of their different private labels, but they're kind of brands in their own right because they've given them the space and the personality and the character to be brands in their own right. And that kids range is just brilliant. I mean, I was gutted that Target isn't a store over here, because you can see how much fun you would have buying those products and bringing them into your home. And I think that's the case across their entire own brand portfolio. And that's a complete point of differentiation for them, because nobody else is doing it. Those are their brands. They're the only ones that stock it. And the other thing with Target is they have a number of exclusive partnerships with other brands too. So I think they really do differentiation well, and they stand out for that reason. So
the partnership they have with other brands are brands that they are resellers. They resell.
Yeah, okay. The only sellers. So again, if
they are only, okay. So it's all about differentiation. I will have a look to the website.
I think it's difficult, isn't it? Especially here, you go into a supermarket, you see the same brands, and price is challenging because everybody's trying to price match. So how do you rise above that? And I think products, certainly own label products, have become a way to do that. And when it's done well, it's really exciting.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a nice tip. So I don't see that there are other questions. So I thank you very much. I thank you all our audience, and see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you.